well as international instruments which we have directly made applicable to our Constitution. We are committed. While we move ahead in this direction, Kosovo's functionality as a country is protected, as well as the constitutionality of our actions.
Hello everyone. It's a lovely day, isn't it?
It's too lovely.
It's warm. Not another day for a wool craft suit, so hopefully you guys can dress down a bit. So I just kick off about the event. But just very happy to be here to represent Ireland at the European Political Community meeting. It's a relatively new formation, only the second meeting that we've had, and what it brings together is the countries of the European Union, also with countries that are associated with the European Union like Switzerland and Norway, for example, and then other countries like the UK. Turkey sometimes attends, not present on this occasion because of their recent elections. It's an opportunity to talk about issues that affect the continent as a whole. So a lot of security issues will arise here. Of course, the war in Ukraine is going to be top of mind, but also it's an opportunity to express solidarity with Moldova, a country that's also under pressure from Russia, and a country that Ireland has taken a particular interest in down the years, supporting them politically in their candidature for the EU, but also financially and to help build up their institutions. In addition to that, the situation in Kosovo will be a matter that people will be talking about, and also the situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Mainly the meetings I'll be attending relate to energy and how we can push ahead our agenda to decarbonise our electricity and energy systems, which is to the benefit of Europe, both economically but also in terms of political stability and also environmentally as well. And also a chance to have some side meetings and discussions with counterparts, like for example Prime Minister Sunak and others who I'd hope to have a chat with during the day.
Taoiseach, well, the issue of critical infrastructure is topical at the moment, and given the vulnerability of undersea cables, from an Irish point of view, there are some initiatives through PESCO on trying to beef up critical infrastructure protection. Is that something Ireland could and should be exploring? Yeah,
it's something we're interested in. We haven't at this stage decided to join any NATO Partnership for Peace programme on this or any PESCO programme on it, but we will certainly consider that. We'll give it deep consideration because we are an island nation. Our seas are 7 times greater than our land area, and going through those seas are a lot of really important infrastructure, communications cables that connect Ireland to the world and Europe to North America, and also, for example, our gas interconnector with the UK and our electricity interconnectors with both the UK and the new one with France. So I don't think we can protect these on our own. And therefore it makes sense for us to cooperate with our neighbours and allies, both in the European Union and in NATO, to make sure that those cables are secure no matter what happens. But we have to know the detail of any European-led cooperation on that or any NATO-led cooperation on that before we can make a decision on whether or not to participate.
What would that concretely look like, cooperation? Would it look like boats, repair centres from other countries? What would it look like?
Well, I suppose that's the point. We don't actually really know yet. There's many aspects of this. One is making sure that when cables and pipelines are designed and when they're replaced, that they're more secure than maybe they were in the past, and design is part of it. Another part of it is monitoring, making sure that we're able to keep an eye on vessels that pass through our economic zone. And then another aspect to it is what would you do if there was information about a potential interference and how would we act. So we just can't sign up to anything until we know what it actually is. But the basic principle is that this is really important for Ireland because we're an island, because so much of its infrastructure goes through our island or around our island, and as a small country, 5 million people, no matter how much we spent on our defence forces or our navy, we wouldn't be able to do this on our own. So we do need to cooperate, and that means cooperating potentially with NATO allies through the Partnership for Peace, which we've been members of for over 20 years now, or through the European Union's PESCO arrangement, which is the European Union's structured cooperation on defence and security. So we're interested. It's a very real issue for us. It's not a theoretical one, but we have to know what we'll be signing up to before we can sign up to anything.
Have you received intelligence that Russia has been mapping or looking at or carrying out suspicious activity at or near undersea cables?
We don't have anything specific, but you'll understand I'm limited in what I can say on matters of national security.
I mean, would you think Ireland is at risk of the kind of hybrid destabilisation techniques that we hear about from Moldova?
I think things have changed. Traditionally, when we thought about security concerns, you would think about one country invading another, and that's very real. That's happened in Europe. It's happening in Europe at the moment, where Russia has invaded Ukraine. I don't think that's the kind of threat that Ireland faces, but we live in a different world now, and threats are hybrid. Security threats are hybrid. We've already had a cyber attack on our health service, for example. We need to make sure that nobody's in a position to take down the IT systems around our critical infrastructure, like, for example, our electricity grid. And also there's the risk of international terrorism, which isn't new, but not something that we should make the mistake of thinking that Ireland is immune to. And then also threats, for example, such as industrial espionage and attacks on infrastructure in our seas. So none of these things are new, but I think it's fair to say that because of the instability in the world at the moment, the risk of us being victim of an attack or collateral damage in an attack is higher than it would have been 10 or 20 years ago. We need to be realistic about that. I don't think we need to scare people or be over dramatic about it either, but to just kind of say that the risk is nothing and therefore we need to do nothing would be very irresponsible. We need to assess the risk and then see what we can do to make sure that we're safe.
Would Ireland support speedier accession of Moldova to the EU?
Yes, we've always supported Moldova as a candidate country for European Union membership. The same applies to the countries of the Western Balkans as well. We believe as a country that Europe has acted too slowly when it comes to enlargement in recent years. The enlargement into Central Eastern Europe happened under the Irish presidency a long time ago now. Hasn't been perfect, but it's broadly been a success. And I think that you can make countries wait too long. And if you make countries wait too long, well, then they may turn off the European path. So we're very much in favour of accession of Moldova, of the Western Balkan countries. But it is important that all the criteria are met, all the chapters are closed. We can't water down our standards as a European Union, but we have to say to countries that if they meet those standards, well, then they're in and they're welcome.
What do you mean too long? How much is too long?
Yeah, I can't put a timeline on it, because what it's all about is allowing countries to become candidate countries and then beginning the negotiations chapter by chapter to allow them to do so. And Ireland did that too. We're not founder members of the European Union. We joined in the 70s, but accession for us only took a couple of years. And I think that a lot of countries have been allowed to wait a very long time in the Western Balkans and also Moldova too, and we're very strong supporters of further enlargement.
And Moldova says they want to start accession talks by the end of the year. Is that something Ireland would support?
That's going to depend on the recommendations of the European Commission, but we're certainly open to that, and we hope that there'll be a positive recommendation from the Commission in that regard. We think Moldova's future is in the European Union. It's my first time to visit here. It's a really nice country from what I've seen so far, but a country I think that can benefit enormously from European membership. And bear in mind, this is a country that is relatively poor by European standards, a country with a lower population than Ireland, but has taken in more refugees in Ukraine than we have. And we need to bear in mind the level of solidarity that they've shown with their neighbours. And I'd like to see them become full members of the European Union as soon as that's possible. And it is a country that we work with closely, and a country that we've also made financial contributions to help them build up their institutions, and that will continue.
On domestic issues,
Sorry?
What UK State Secretary said, that in certain circumstances it would be okay for Ukraine to attack certain territory as it's in Russia.
Yeah, I didn't hear his comments on that. Look, I probably wouldn't be helpful for me to get into that space, but I fully support Ukraine in its efforts to defend itself and to defend its own territory and territorial integrity.
Just on domestic issues, you said you're meeting on energy today. We saw gas prices reach a 2-year low last week. Why is it taking so long to feed through to consumers?
Yeah, the reason why that happens is because there isn't a direct link between wholesale prices and the retail prices that homeowners and businesses pay. So, at one point the wholesale gas price was 6 times or 10 times higher than it had been peak to trough, yet prices never went up 6 times or tenfold. So what happens is that when prices are going up in the wholesale markets, the full increase isn't passed on, and when prices go down, the full reduction isn't passed on. There's a time lag, but prices will come down. Electricity and gas prices will come down. But if there was an exact link, they would have gone up a lot more than they have, if that makes any sense.
And on the abortion laws, the woman who led the review said that the state is at risk of legal challenges unless there are amendments. Can you comment on that?
Well, the state's always at risk of legal challenges, no matter what our laws are on abortion. That's the nature of how democracy works. So, I think the risk is there whether we act or whether we don't. And even if we did act, I think there's also a risk. So, I think that's a statement of fact. What I would say is this. Back in 2017, on my first day as Taoiseach, I said that we should have a referendum on abortion, that people had a right to make a decision on whether we should change our abortion laws. That happened. We had a referendum, a very clear majority for change, and we made that happen. We brought in the legislation under Minister Harris and set up the service, so now it's available. And I've always said that this shouldn't be a party political issue. Shouldn't be about people scoring points or politicians scoring points. It's about women and about children and what's best for them. And everyone should be allowed to have their own opinion on this, and that opinion should be respected. What the government's intention was to allow the Health Committee of the Oireachtas to consider the O'Shea report, the independent review of the legislation, before looking at any particular legislative changes. The vote in the Dáil now changes that. It is now possible for the Health Committee to both look at Ms O'Shea's report and also at the same time consider legislative changes because Deputy Smith's bill has now passed second stage. So that's what will now happen. It's a big job of work, both for Deputy Smith and for the committee and the committee members to do. But that is how democracy works, and that is what parliamentarians are for. Is that it? All right. Thanks a lot. I'll probably see you in the way.